allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of treasurer warrants, payroll warrants for October 5th and October 12th.
I move that we accept the payroll warrants for October 5th and October 12th, 2018.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. Accounts payable warrants for October 9th and October 16th.
I move that we approve the accounts payable warrants of October 9, 2008 and 2016, and October 16, 2018.
All those in favor? Thank you. Approval of minutes for October 2nd, 2018. Do we have any corrections, omissions, any problems? I didn't find any. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor? We have no special presentation or awards, no committee appointments. We do have a public hearing on the junkyard permit renewals. Can I have a motion to go into a public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'm going to have to abstain on that, I guess.
Oh, yes, you do. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, this public hearing is for automobile graveyard or junkyard permit renewals for the following: Jim's Auto Trim, Blagden's Garage, Grover Auto and Tire, Norm's Used Cars Incorporated, and Pro Body Works. We do have a memo from the Bruce Mullins, who is a Wiscasset Code Enforcement Officer. He states, I have conducted an on-site inspection of each of the below-listed sites and have found them to be compliant with the Maine, state, and Wiscasset land use ordinances. I therefore recommend that the Board of Selectmen approve their renewal applications for 2018-2019. Signed, Bruce Mullins. I'd like to read that for the record.
We don't have a copy of that.
No.
Okay, fine.
Are there any questions regarding this from the board? Anyone in the audience? I guess not. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
I'll second it. All those in favor? Okay, I will make a motion to approve the automobile graveyard and or junkyard permit renewals for Jim's Auto Trim, Blagden's Garage, Grover Auto Tire, Norm's Used Cars Incorporated, and Pro Body Works.
Second.
All those in favor? And one abstention. Thank you. Now we have another public hearing to discuss and hear comments on the following special town meeting warrant article to be voted by secret ballot on November 6, 2018. Can I have a motion to go into public comment hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. As some of you may have read in the paper, Warren Waltz has resigned from CLC, but we did receive an email from Mark Doe, who is the interim service chief for Lincoln County, Central Lincoln County Ambulance, and he states, the Board of Directors at Central Lincoln County Ambulance requests that our proposal for consolidation of the Wiscasset Ambulance and CLCAS be tabled while we are in the process of replacing our service chief. CLC would anticipate being able to resume discussion during the first quarter of 2019. We apologize for any inconvenience that this will present to the town. Signed respectfully, Mark Dove. I wanted to read that, to put that also into the equation. Kim has worked very, very hard on a presentation that to compare Wiscasset Ambulance and CLC. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Kim.
Oh, should we go ahead?
So I just made a video and I did a voiceover, so I'm not going to stand and talk to you. I'm just going to let you watch the video. It should be very objective. I tried to provide information as objectively as I could. I looked at the CLC proposal. I talked to our own Wiscasset Ambulance Department. I had feedback from some members of the community. And then I think if it's okay with this board, we'll share this proposal on our website and on Facebook. The idea being that when people go to the polls in November, they can be as informed as possible, as informed as we are. Okay? Is that good? I don't want to do all the lights because it'll be spooky.
It's fine.
It's spooky season.
I've seen it.
Shall the town vote to discontinue the Wiscasset Emergency Medical Services Department and utilize Central Lincoln County Ambulance Service? What does a yes vote mean? A yes vote means we close Wiscasset Ambulance Service. It means we choose CLC Ambulance. A yes vote means we negotiate a contract with CLC Ambulance. What does a no vote mean? A no vote means we choose Wiscasset Ambulance Service. A no vote means we stop talks with CLC and continue with our existing service. A no vote means we seek a director. Considerations for this presentation include cost, service, and accountability. The cost presentation is based on Wiscasset's existing service in the approved 2018-19 budget and CLC's proposed service in the June 2018 proposal. The cost for Wiscasset of operating Wiscasset Ambulance Service is $553,227. CLC would cost $175,000. Wiscasset's income with Wiscasset Ambulance is $375,000. With CLC, it would be $3,601. The net cost to taxpayers of Wiscasset Ambulance Service is $178,227. With CLC, it would be $171,399. CLC has offered to lease the Wiscasset Ambulance facility for up to $300 per month, and Wiscasset Ambulance's office equipment, radios, pagers, and report writing equipment for $1 for 2 years. These are the Wiscasset income under the CLC ambulance proposal. Assets. Wiscasset's newer ambulance is estimated to value $90,000. CLC would purchase this ambulance for $100,000 over 2 years. The remount ambulance's estimated value is $30,000. Wiscasset's 2 power stretchers have an estimated value combined of $32,000. Wiscasset's 2 cardiac monitors have a combined estimated value of $35,990. Wiscasset's current medical supplies inventory has an estimated value of $33,000. CLC's proposal is to purchase these items for a total cost of $1. The service presentation covers services currently offered by Wiscasset Ambulance, services proposed by CLC Ambulance, and the service area. 911 emergency calls, non-emergency interfacility or scheduled medical transports, and paramedic interfacility transfer program specialty care transfers are covered by both Wiscasset Ambulance and CLC Ambulance. Transport medicine up to the paramedic level, 24/7 Wiscasset-based coverage, and 2 Wiscasset-based ambulances and crews available are covered by both Wiscasset and CLC Ambulance. Quality oversight of treatment and transport of citizens, ER physician and medical director oversight and training, and EMS event coverage as requested are offered by both Wiscasset and CLC Ambulance. Hard safety.
I just want to pause for a moment and note that when I prepared the presentation, at that time, I did not know if CLC would offer these community services that Wiscasset Ambulance offers. I heard today that they are willing to consider all of these community services.
Community designation, community CPR courses, and oversight and maintenance of public access to AEDs program are offered by Wiscasset Ambulance and may be offered by CLC County Ambulance. Child passenger safety seat program and home medical device program are both offered by Wiscasset Ambulance and may be offered by CLC. Community paramedicine program in partnership with Lincoln Health is offered by CLC, but not Wiscasset. Service provided to Wiscasset and Westport Island would be offered by both Wiscasset and CLC. Service to Dresden would not be offered by CLC. The accountability presentation covers administrative responsibilities, maintenance responsibilities, and a service guarantee. Oversight and governance under Wiscasset Ambulance Service provides total local control. Wiscasset EMS is a department of the town with a budgeted director position currently vacant. The director would report to the town manager, who reports to the Board of Selectmen. CLC is offering one non-voting seat on the CLC Board of Directors. CLC is a private, nonprofit corporation. Both parties could terminate the contract with 30 days notice at any time for any reason. Other administrative responsibilities, like personnel, hiring, firing, other issues, and uncollected debts would both be responsibility of Central Lincoln County Ambulance. Maintenance responsibilities, like ambulances and medical equipment, would be CLC Ambulance. Leased equipment, including office equipment, radios, pagers, our facility, including the ambulance bay and sleeping quarters, would both be the responsibility of Wiscasset. Guarantee of service to the town is provided by Wiscasset Ambulance. It is not provided by CLC Ambulance. Please vote on November 6, 2018.
Thank you very much, Kim.
You're welcome.
That was excellent. Okay, does the board have any questions? Does the public have any questions regarding the presentation? Any questions? Yes, Constance, would you please? I know.
I'm sorry, Kim, this was excellent. Constance Schumann, obviously in the town. In that first slide, when you gave the Wiscasset, what we pay, $553 was the budget, and then the income was $375. So what was our net figure there to compare with the CLC 175?
178 something?
Yeah, it was, I'm sorry.
It costs the taxpayer roughly about 179,000 taxpayer dollars go to fund the ambulance.
Yeah, it was 170, do you have the?
It was
178. 178, 227.
So, and CLC, thanks, I appreciate that, I'm just not fast at this. But CLC, we would pay 175.
171. 175 minus the 3601 in income.
Thank you, okay.
Potential income. They said they would pay up to $300 a month to rent our facility. And the quote is up to, so
Yeah.
it may not be a full $300 a month to rent the facility.
So roughly, would you say it's what, how much savings?
Like, not 8,000?
I'd say between $8,000 and $9,000.
Yeah.
But you
Definitely
gotta
less
knock
than
off
10.
what they're gonna pay for the ambulance.
Yeah, another 50, about $58,000.
That would be for the first
For
2
2
years,
years.
but then after that.
For 2 years, but then after that,
Well, it says in the 2018 year.
right.
Okay, just a couple other things, I won't be quite so detailed. The accountability section, 1 non-voting seat, so no voice.
That's correct.
No voice.
That is part of their proposal.
And a 30-day cancellation fee, which, or a fee, 30-day cancellation notice clause. But if we were to ever use that, we have of course given away all of our equipment. We don't get that back.
There's nothing in the contract that states that we would get it back. You're correct.
Well, we don't have a contract, and when the director came over and went through this with us, he said that everything would belong to the town of Wiscasset, that they would lease it for $1, and if it didn't work out, or at the end of the 2-year period, it would still belong to the town of Wiscasset. He was crystal clear on that.
That's not how it reads in the proposal.
But he was crystal clear when he was sitting right in front of me, and I'm not going to accuse the man of lying to
I'm
you.
just telling you what's in writing. Like, I could pull it up on the screen if you want to see it.
I have it right in front of me, but I know what he said. And I would think that when he was talking with us, he was giving us the latest
I
proposal.
think we need to go with what's in writing, to present to the people. We can't tell us, it's not going to be a he said, she said. It's what's in writing.
We don't
That's
have a
his bond,
contract in
he's
front of
signed.
us either.
I'm sorry?
We have a proposal. We
We-
have a proposal.
Exactly, a proposal. So none of what they proposed to us is carved in stone.
Correct.
But that's what makes it so hard to vote in a little while, is because you're really kind of buying a pig in a poke unless some of these numbers are a gentleman's agreement in very good faith.
The only numbers that are certain are the ones for Wiscasset Ambulance. The only thing that we can guarantee is what we have for Wiscasset Ambulance.
Okay, I'm just really hesitant to vote for something that is not very clear. Can I ask one other question? In their accountability part, does that include, because they're paying our people, right?
Correct.
Okay, that would include all benefits and insurance and all of that.
Correct. Our EMS employees at this point in time, from what I understand, would have to apply through CLC, and they would hire them through them.
Thank you.
And they would be responsible for any human resource issue.
Thanks, that's the right word. Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for your patience.
Yes, Constance, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Ben?
Yeah, on the same page. I appreciate all the work you put into it, but under Wiscasset's income, it says $375,000, which is what we put on the warrant. But when we put that together, at that point, we were still including income from Edgecombe.
Yes,
And then Edgecombe's income got taken out because they went someplace else.
correct.
So how much did we lose there?
I believe we estimated 72,000.
I would like to add that the expense of $553,227 is for 3 people during the daytime, I think 8 to 10, and 2 people overnight. And a director, full-time director. We currently have no full-time director, and we're running with just 2 people. So what we voted for in June has changed, but those are the nearest public-approved figures that we do have.
No. Let me continue, I wasn't done. I'll buy the 7,200 that Edgecombe was gonna pay us. But according to,
7,200 or 72,000?
she said 7,200.
72,000.
Oh, 72,000, okay. Then that changes these numbers dramatically. It should be closer to 300,000 rather than 375. Right? Okay, I'm just pointing out that these numbers need to be redone. Rather than an $8,000 difference, it's closer to $80,000 difference. If we want to be accurate.
Right, if you want to.
Well, it's not gonna actually, then we would have to also redo the expense line. Like, I just went with the last approved thing by voters. We could look at monthly budget to actual for both, and I think we would see we were very under budget for expense, but because we don't have the staff that's in our budget. And I'm happy to do that. If we want to do that before we post it, we can adjust these numbers and get them to be as close to real as possible.
I'm just pointing out that those numbers are
Well, I can
not
fix it.
any.
I'm just like, I can't fix it. I want it to.
Well, okay, I'm just pointing it out, that's all I'm doing, that there is a big discrepancy in the revenue line itself.
But it's not 80,000.
Can you clarify, you were saying, I understand that we're understaffed right now, we don't have a director, but which numbers did you use?
I
We
went
were
with the
as fully
approved-
staffed with a director?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So if we go back up to the beginning, this presentation is based on Wiscasset's
Great.
existing service and the approved 2018-19 budget figures. And it's based on CLC's proposed service, which actually their proposal did not have a date. Their proposal was based on June, I wrote June 2018 because that's the first time I saw it. But when I went back and looked, it also included Dresden in their proposal, taking over Dresden service. So their numbers would also change because this proposal probably came, when did this happen first, Bob? Was back in March?
Well, I can't recall when we got the first proposal, but I don't think they ever discussed
Edgecombe?
Dresden.
Dresden.
I'm sorry, I meant to say Edgecombe.
Oh,
Edgecombe.
okay, I understand.
Yeah, no, they said they would not work with Dresden, but they would serve Edgecombe in that proposal. They are now
Right,
serving
yeah, they
Edgecombe,
now
so their $175,000 figure is also going to change. I mean, I can make my best guess.
I have to go get the.
Yes, Bernice.
The $375,000 in estimated revenues does not include Edgecombe. It includes service calls, Dresden, and Westport.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So that does
your
not
numbers
include,
were
that does
correct.
not
That saves me
include
a lot.
It does not include Edgecombe.
Edgecombe.
Yeah. So that's because by June, by the time we did the warrant, we'd already given up Edgecombe. That makes sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. We posted that warrant in April, Edgecombe didn't pull out until June. Well, okay, I'm just pointing out that
Okay,
the timeline.
thank you. You're right.
So let's clarify this to make sure everybody's on the same page. That $375,000 includes,
362,000 in service call estimation, 6,500 for Dresden, and 6,500 for Westport.
okay.
So that's our assessment for service for Westport and Dresden is the 6,500
Each.
So
That was cast.
it did not include the income from Dresden, the income that we generate for service.
That would be part of the
The
service
police.
calls.
Okay.
So that there's nothing in there concerning Edgecombe?
No.
They're not included in the service calls?
Edgecombe? Not as far as I know.
Well,
I'd
that
have to go
figure-
further to see.
Well, that figure was put together with the anticipation of having Edgecombe as a contracted.
Well, hold on a second.
No, I'll go.
Hold on, but
They,
today I looked at the town report and read Toby's report
yeah,
for this year's town report. And he listed the town of Edgecombe and then we had 108 calls to Edgecombe in 2017, which represented 14% of all of our calls. I don't know what that means
I don't
as
know,
far
we
as
can take a look and see
income,
what the prior year had for service calls.
but I really find it difficult to believe that we would have put together this budget in March and April and not included those figures.
I don't, because,
How could we have not? Because at that point, we were still anticipating that Edgecombe would stay on board.
all right, are there any other questions while we get to the bottom of that?
Oh my God. Let's start way in the back.
My name is Martha Clavery. I'm new in town. You read an email from the board of directors,
I did.
okay, excuse me, that indicated that they wanted to table negotiations until 2019, correct?
The first quarter of 2019, correct.
Is there anything in that email that says we will honor our proposal as it is?
No, there is not. I read you exactly what was stated in the.
So they could come back in 2019 and say, we don't want to do this.
They can come back and say they want more money, they can come back and say they want less money.
Okay.
We don't know. We just
So-
received this October 15th.
So if you're asking the citizens of this community to vote on, and I'm going to read exactly what it says on here, shall the town vote to discontinue the Wiscasset Emergency Medical Services Department and utilize Central Lincoln County Ambulance Service? If we voted yes on November 6th, in January, CLC comes back and says we don't want to do this, or we want more money, aren't we in a bit of trouble?
Well, we have funding for our ambulance until June, am I correct? You have funded the ambulance till June.
Okay.
If they come back and say that the vote is yes, in the first quarter of 2019, they come back and they don't want to service us, we can still continue our own ambulance as far as I'm concerned.
Wouldn't there have to be another vote?
I would assume there would have to be another vote.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
I'm calling you along. I just wanted to follow up on Kim's original question, one of the questions that she posed.
Push the red button on the very end.
Is that on?
Hold it for
From
a
that. Holding it.
Okay, now.
I'm going to talk really loud. Did we ever figure out if there's a difference in the discrepancy of the staffing that would be between the two proposals? I mean, my understanding from working with Toby through the Public Safety Committee was that we were supposed to be staffed at 3 providers during the day, 2 in the evening and overnight shifts, but I don't know exactly how many hours each day. And I seem to recall at the public hearing when Mr. Waltz presented that it was going to be 2 providers on throughout. I'm going off of memory on that one. Is that written anywhere or part of the proposal?
Well, yes and no. In the CLC proposal, they say that Wiscasset will, there will be coverage in Wiscasset and will be staffed 24/7. It does not say how many providers will be on site. In our approved budget, we have budgeted for 3 providers during the day, 2 overnight, and I think the daytime provider is supposed to be the director, but I maybe defer to someone from Wiscasset Ambulance.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So in our budget,
Yes.
I think our budget for this year includes 3 full-time people during the daytime,
Correct.
2 people overnight, and a
Yes.
full-time director. And my question is the full-time director the daytime person, or?
Not necessarily. The way that he had done the budget that last time was not that he would necessarily be filling those day slots. That 3rd day slot, I believe, was budgeted as a 10-hour shift, not a 12-hour shift, but that it would be we would nestle it in based on our run data as far as best times to have that 3rd person on to cover the most amount of calls within our service area.
But that would have a financial impact, correct? Between the two, if you were gonna compare the two proposals are current to CLC. You know, our difference, if we've settled on the income being accurate at 375,000, which means that the 178,227 is also accurate, there's only a difference around $8,000 there. If a third person on, you know, through it 365 days a year proposed, meaning budgeted, it seems like that would make more than an $8,000 difference, potentially.
Mhm.
So something to think about.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dick Rondon, just a plain old taxpayer. I was wondering how much is there in the numbers that you have for equipment replacement? Because ambulances don't last forever. We just spent some money, I think, on ambulances.
So, Marion, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in our EMS budget, it does not include money for equipment replacement. Those are capital funds.
That's correct, but the taxpayers still buy ambulances.
And those are capital funds.
That's
So
right. That still comes out of my pocket. So
capital funds
shouldn't that
actually
be part of the
come
presentation?
from the earnings on our town investments. That's where the capital funds come from.
Those are a separate withdrawal from the
They're not
Payson
in the
account that
lines.
we have.
It's still my money.
It is, but it doesn't raise your taxes.
Yeah, it does, because you
Oh,
can't
come
use that
on.
money somewhere else.
Doesn't raise my taxes. If you didn't use it for an ambulance, you could use it for something else.
But you can only
Of course
use it
it
for
does.
capital improvements. That's part of the ordinance.
That's,
So
no.
is my answer nothing?
No.
This is the total cost.
Is the answer there's no money in there for replacing ambulances?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. The 130,000 plus that you talked about, there was all these different items that we were gonna have to sell for $1.
Yes.
Is that mandatory that we do that?
That was in the proposal that CLC made to us.
Okay. So, but there's a discussion on whether or not we retain the equipment.
That's correct. We have not negotiated a contract. We're working with a proposal that at this point is outdated because their proposal, I thank you for pulling that up about Edgecombe, because Edgecombe was included in their proposal when they gave us the price of $175,000. Now that Edgecombe isn't part of it, that would change that number. And none of this is carved in stone. This is based on a proposal from last spring.
Okay, sounds like the vote is premature in view of what you just got for an email.
Yes, it is, because it's, as I said, we just got it Monday, and it's already been out there, we voted on it. Absentee ballots are out. But it is asking whether you want to go through Wiscasset or Central Lincoln County. It doesn't, we can negotiate in the beginning of 2019, if that is the vote of the people. Like I said, we have enough, we have our budget to last us till June.
Do we have a selectman recommendation on this yet?
No, there has been none.
No? Okay. Well, the last thing I have is, I hope you're proud of yourself for informing the people. But when I look at how many voters are here and how confusing this is, I don't think you've informed the people, so I'm going back to what I said back along, that you should have made the decision in the first place.
Well, this is being live streamed on YouTube, and this video is going to be posted on the town website and the town Facebook page. Those things get hundreds of hits.
Thank you. Yes, Kim?
Kim Dolce. I have a bunch of questions. I'm trying to keep them in order of what people have most recently talked about, though. This gentleman, in terms of our turnout, I went to the post office this morning. Your presentation was very good. I appreciate the time that you put into it. I appreciate the fact that you're having this hearing. Is anyone aware that the notice that you hung up in the post office does not mention what this public hearing is about? I was getting my mail today and someone had written in, huh? Question mark, underneath the notice. And I thought, why are they asking, huh? And I read it. I had not read it before because I personally was aware. It does not mention anything about the ambulance service. It just says, public hearing about the vote we're having in secret on November 6th.
But isn't the warrant hung right next to this notice?
No.
It had been, it was.
There's
Larry, you
nothing.
posted it, Larry, they were posted at all of the places the warrants were posted at.
I posted them, I don't read them, I just post
Right.
them.
So they
It's
can-
one sheet of paper, and then I looked at what was in not minutes, agenda for tonight, and exactly what was in the post office was listed in the, so anyway, that's not the point. That's probably why a lot of people aren't here. But I do have questions that are important. Okay, in terms of like the crews that are here, that was a good question. So 3 on in the daytime, 2 on at night. Obviously, it's just a proposal for CLC. What happens if more than one call comes in?
Can we defer to?
Yes, let's
Wiscasset?
What happens when more than one call comes in?
So when more than one call comes in, we're toned out by Lincoln County Communications, and they let us know that there's a second call. If there's a third person here during the day, then they'll immediately put a tone out for an additional crew member to come to be a driver, and we also put a tone out to our fire department and to get the driver to go on that second call. At night, it goes out as a second call over our phones and over our pagers, letting us know that it's a second call, and then those of us that live in or near the community will get on the radio with communications or call them and let them know that we're coming to man our second truck. If
Okay,
we're
so
not,
we have 2 trucks.
we have 2 trucks.
And 2 people go out on a call?
We have 2 people. We have to have the driver and then a licensed EMS member on the
Okay.
truck.
Have we ever had a third call?
Absolutely.
And
We've
what
had
happens then? Because we only have 2 trucks.
So we have mutual aid agreements with Blueberry Regional Ambulance Service as well as CLC that if there's a second tone that we're not able to staff that truck, or a third or fourth call, because that has happened too.
A 4th call has
That
happened.
they will cover our facility, they'll cover our community just as we would go and cover theirs if they needed us.
Okay, so what would happen with CLC? Their staffing here, they would have, if we went with CLC, they would have the 2 vehicles, they would have 2 people. Do they have vehicles and people elsewhere?
They do in Damerscott,
And would
and they
those,
cover 11, if they took on Wiscasset and Westport Island, then they would be covering 11 towns with vehicles in 2 locations. This sort of southern end and then the northern end, which would be Damerscott.
so
So they
they,
didn't go into those details,
okay.
but it doesn't, I mean, I would feel confident saying that you could imagine if they would be sending ambulances out of both locations.
So the only, other than Wiscasset, the only other location they staff is Damerscott.
I believe so. I think that's the only other place.
Do you know how many vehicles they have of their own?
I think they have 5 or 6. Hang on, I have that information.
5 ambulances and 1 fly car.
They have 5, okay. So,
That's mine.
another one of my questions, which is also something that came up, you have a proposal from them. Have you had any negotiations with them?
No.
No.
No. So what we see up here, $1 for hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, is not necessarily.
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, that's what negotiations is about. You don't just go, oh, okay, we'll take $1. You know, you go in and you negotiate. Okay, like I said, I want to keep it to what other people have already talked about. I would also agree that maybe this is premature. Is there any way that we can, like, not vote on November 6th?
It's already out there. I mean, we've got absentee ballots already out. People have already picked them up. I don't see how we can stop the vote at this point.
I asked the clerk today, anticipating this question, and she said there was not, because we already have people have already voted, they've cast their votes. And she can't open.
No, I realize
ballots to
that.
take out.
So it's, okay,
Yes, Bob?
Could I just?
yeah, sure.
It's so unfortunate that when we put this question forward, we had no idea that their service director
Sure.
would not be available to speak here tonight and answer all these questions. I mean, when we put this together, it sounded good, but it just fell apart when he resigned. Now there's nobody here.
Right.
And so these are unanswered questions, and it makes the whole process look incredibly stupid.
Gotcha.
Yeah, really, I mean, none of us planned for
No,
this.
no.
And it would be so good if we could just tear up the ballots and throw them away and regroup when we had a more current proposal, but it's too late.
So there's no way to like cross out in all other ballots that go out and tell those few people that, no, okay.
Yeah.
So,
It's out there.
okay.
I'm
Sorry
sorry,
then.
we can't do anything about it at this point.
Right. And back to capital expenditures. So have all capital expenditures for our ambulance service come out of investment income? Has that always been the case? Everything that it has?
Yes, ambulances have always come out of our investment fund.
Okay.
Sadly, we
And even
spend
some of our
capital
equipment.
services money on a lot of things that should just be come out of the regular tax fund, like road paving and things like that. That's maintenance, in my opinion, that is not a capital improvement.
Right.
And we're using that money for that as well to keep the tax rate down.
Okay.
I think our cardiac monitors came out of our investments. Some of our supplies that we have, the AED, if I'm not mistaken, came out of our investments.
And in the category of stupid questions, I'm curious, what would happen if the town didn't have a contract with or their own service? Would no one come and pick them up if they called 911?
I'm sure somebody would come, I hope.
How does that work? I'm curious. I'm just curious.
Yes, sir.
So Megan, Town of Howard is a paramedic for the service, and statewide, there is no requirement to have an EMS service. There is a statewide mutual aid agreement that a community could request mutual aid unless the service is out of them or are not a municipal service. So agencies like CLC or Booth Bay do not have to participate with those that statewide mutual aid agreement. So you could be waiting for the next municipal agency would be Gardner or Bath. You could have additional fees. In Knox County, if the agency does not have an agreement with the town, they're charging upwards of $800 or more per call to the municipality plus the patient fees. So they're charging a response fee on top of the other healthcare billing. So there are additional fees. There's a number of different models that are out there, such as the townships don't have agreements with a particular ambulance service. The state may enter into those for them. But you would get somebody just based on.
It might take longer and it might cost more. Okay, thank you. I might have more, but.
Thank you, Kim. Anyone else at this point have any questions?
Bernice, did you?
I didn't find where Dresden paid us $72,000.
No, that's Edgecombe.
Edgecombe, rather. I didn't find where they paid us $72,000 last year. They paid us $6,000 last year.
No, that is the contract to provide the service, but they generated that income.
Oh, okay.
Not that we assessed that payment from them.
I misunderstood
But,
that.
But that's included in that $300 and some odd $1,000, correct?
Yes, I would imagine that it is.
Okay.
Yes. I thought you were talking about contract.
But it shouldn't be. We did include it, you're right, but then they canceled out in June.
But she's saying that the service contract is not in there, then why would we think that we can go back and look at the budget proposal, but if the service contract is not in there, then why would we think that the revenue would be in there?
Didn't we contract with Edgecombe last year? So we took in significant monies from Edgecombe last year, and that was part of the revenue stream that we put forward some of it got taken away, but we didn't know that. That's why I'm saying the 375 should probably be 310, 20, somewhere in there. It should be much less than what it is. That's not your fault. You weren't on the board at the time. but
We
it's-
will, I can adjust that. But
But that was voted on it, that's what was in the warrant article.
Yep.
Because that's what we had voted on.
We can put a
at budget time,
footnote
what
on
was
the
put
slide.
in the warrant article.
Make it a big footnote.
Well, the entire presentation is based on the 2018-19 approved budget figures. So I would be more comfortable, either I change that slide or I add a footnote. I can make it right, but.
Footnote could be missed. I think if we're talking about a significant amount of money.
It would not be missed. You don't miss this one.
They would also be reducing
I can
the
make it clear
expenses,
presentation.
correct?
Yes.
No, I mean, I see where you got the figure.
Yeah,
and
yeah. We can adjust that. And then while we're at it, I think we can provide more clarity on each of these lines. Because this 175,000 included doing negotiations with Edgecombe. And so without Edgecombe, I mean, they have that income now, so they may want to offer us less because that's the proposal
Well,
at
that
Edgecombe.
could be.
So the 175 would need to be reduced as well.
I believe the proposal was, that was the fee for Wiscasset, and then they would negotiate with the other two towns. For their, so the 175 is what they would, in the proposal, charge.
But they wouldn't get to negotiate with the other town if Wiscasset still had it, and, I mean, we're talking about what
And
ifs.
I think what he's trying to say is, we as Wiscasset negotiate with Westport and Dresden a fee. That $175,000 is what, or whatever it is, 171, is what CLC is giving us. They will negotiate their fee with Westport. Westport is not included in that number.
So, I just want to,
Am I correct?
That's the way,
and they have since negotiated with Edgecombe, and I think Constance shared the newspaper article with me that they're paying Edgecombe Edgecombe is paying them $17,000
For 5 years.
for
Yes.
5 years.
Yes. Yes, Bernice.
If we're going to reduce the income on Wiscasset side, I would think that we would reduce the costs, because you're saying that there are less people over there to account for us not including Edgecombe, is that what I heard?
I think.
There are 2 people over there versus 3, so because of Edgecombe, is that? No?
It's staffing.
we don't have the staff.
We don't have staff.
It's a
So then
staffing
so then the
issue.
staffing would stay the same regardless of whether we have Edgecombe or not.
Yes, Ben?
I don't want to pick this all apart, but I'm curious, some of the 2 power stretches, the $32,000 figure, where did that come from?
We purchased those, I believe, Wendy, weren't they 18 apiece?
I believe so. We bought those were
Secondhand,
refurbished
right?
units, and they
Yeah.
weren't brand new units.
Right.
And we
They
got
were
them.
whatever 32 divided by 2 is.
We had purchased.
16,000.
Well, okay, that's why I asked. I looked it up. In Article 16, 2 years ago, we bought 2 refurbished power towers for $14,000. That's what the article said.
Okay.
So I wonder where the $32,000 came from.
I got this information from our staff.
So then, just the numbers that we provided for the cost, was if you had to replace the equipment. So at the end of 2 years, if they owned the equipment, if they purchased the newer 2 ambulances, and you had to outfit a complete ambulance from scratch, it'd be $271,000 per unit. That's a new ambulance, new stretcher, cardiac monitor, and all of the disposable supplies. And non-disposables, the smaller items that just aren't worth breaking out in the small amounts. So that's where that number came from. Cardiac monitor, that's actually the price for a brand new monitor for one. They're roughly $36,000 each. So $72,000 if we had to replace both. And then medical supplies, and the $33,000 is just to staff one ambulance, not both.
Okay. I mean, I agree with the way I heard it. I thought when they left, they would leave things behind, but we can't settle that tonight.
Yes, Bob?
But
I just wanted to point out, Tim, I have this original proposal, and one of the points is CLC Ambulance will provide 24-hour EMS coverage and negotiate with town of Edgecombe and town of Westport Island. Well, that clearly shows that this predates their agreement with Edgecombe, and it did go on to say Wiscasset to help with initial meeting. So,
It's pretty old.
yeah, exactly, it is. I think that probably with an opportunity to sit down with the current director and go over these points and maybe clarify a couple that are really creating some issues here, that it would be a lot clearer, but.
Except that they asked that we table it until they hire a director.
Yeah, so we have no opportunity to do that. I'm just saying, what if, that explains their relationship with those other communities.
Yes, Colleen. Yes, please. I'm sorry.
I just want to speak to that. I understand wanting to maybe go into the other negotiations to find out what's out there, but I'm worried about just the service in general just being so destabilized. They've already, I mean, I can't imagine what it's been like to work for Wiscasset Ambulance Service for the last few months, not knowing if your job was stable. And the longer we continue is the longer you have people working under those conditions. It can't be good. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to say something? Yes, Bill.
Should we spell my name again now? Bill Maloney, Wiscasset. What kind of an outfit is this that they don't have a second person to continue on? Is it a one-man office?
I have no idea. I just read you what we have, what was written to
That
us.
bothers me. There's no one there that can pick up and carry on. Secondly, if we voted to do away with our ambulance service and then you finally find out what the numbers are and you decide not to take it, what happens then?
That's a very good question.
And I would assume that in the meantime, some of these people that are working here would be looking for jobs elsewhere if we were going to do it.
You are very correct.
If I was running a business and you guys came to me with this proposal and it is now, I tell you, go back to the drawing board. I don't even want to look at it until you got more information.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes,
I agree with that last comment, and Dick said it first, that this really isn't ready to go forward. But I just generally speaking, we don't quite have the numbers on the revenues for sure. But since returning to the board, I did my first budget with the ambulance in 2015, 3 years ago. In that time period, the ambulance budget has gone up 86%. There is nothing in the town that comes close to that kind of increase. In fact, in the last 3 years, the road crew actually, their numbers have dropped a few $1,000s. 86%. And that's worth looking at. And I take that and I put it into the bigger picture of the town. And we took $200,000 from interest, another $50,000 from the general fund, $250,000 to keep taxes at only going up 4%. If nothing else, I think that we are doing our due diligence by looking into this and trying to find ways moving forward to save money. You know, I'm not here to blame it on the Wiscasset Ambulance Service. Medical costs all over the country are going through the roof. We're experiencing what everybody else does. And there's no reason to think, looking at these budgets, that it's going to get any better. There's nothing we can do about the vote that's going forward. But there's nothing saying, and I would say, vote no, leave it the way it is. But there's nothing saying that we can't continue negotiations with anybody, for that matter, trying to find something that might be more cost effective. And if I might just back up to one other thing, is what a no vote means. It said a no vote meant that we would hire an ambulance director. That may be, I don't know. I've heard the manager at earlier times talk about different ways of doing it. Because I would vote no on this. I wouldn't encourage anyone to vote for it at this time. We aren't ready. Because I really think that we need to continue with the discussion as we do with other things. I would imagine as time goes by, there may be other departments in the town that might find themselves in this sort of spot. And all we can do is applaud forward. I do appreciate your efforts. Like I said, I know where you got your numbers from. There's just a few of them I think.
Yeah, we can adjust that.
But
I feel like we're spinning our wheels on this ambulance thing because the town has voted over and over again to keep our ambulance. There are other areas in the town where we could work on saving money that we never talk about. So while we could be open to negotiations on this, I hope that we as a board can broaden our perspective a little and think about some other ways, some other low-hanging fruit where we could actually try and not only save money, but generate revenue. We are spending a fortune on trash, but we're not at,
We're not talking
we're
trash
not there
today.
yet.
Yes, Kim?
Nancy?
Yes, please.
I did have one other question from the slide. There was one of all the things that were checked off, this one gets and that one doesn't. What is guarantee of service? I think it was on the last of those. Yes, what is that?
So when you have a contract with someone, there's no guarantee that it's indefinite. They're not going to write us an indefinite contract. And in the proposal, they suggested that either party could cancel at any time with 30 days notice. Whereas if you have a department of the town, that's not the case.
Right.
They're not going to walk out. I mean, I guess they could go on strike, but that's a different type of issue.
Yeah,
But I think the proposal was for 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, was it not?
that's what.
Right, but as she said, there was the clause in there
That we
that
could at any
either
time, yes.
could pull out after 30, with 30 days notice. But I would assume that if we was to pay them and sign a contract, that would guarantee that there would be an ambulance staffed and ready to roll.
Right, because I know when we met, he had said 2 years. We would enter into a 2-year agreement at that point in time with the clause that we could, with 30 days notice, come out.
Yeah, either party could terminate with 30 days notice.
Right, okay, I understand. Again, until a contract is actually negotiated by both parties, I mean, clauses can change.
That's correct.
I would just like to say that I think it's inappropriate to point to CLC and suggest that there's some fly-by-night or, poorly run organization. I know nothing about them, but I don't think it's appropriate to suggest that because they've asked to wait until they have a new director in place, that there is something inherently wrong with their organization. I can't buy into that. And I would say that I can see, on either side, I can see reasons for voting either way, but considering the situation that we find ourselves in, that we don't know what actual numbers are, we don't have an actual contract that we're going to be voting on, I think it would be irresponsible as a town to vote any other way than no, because we don't know what we're voting on. It's unfortunate that we find ourselves in this position, but we've waited all these many months. I don't see any reason why we can't, vote no and see what happens and enter into negotiations in the first quarter of next year.
Thank you. Yes, Dick?
All I want to say was, after all that I've heard and learned here tonight, that I think a yes vote or a no vote is a pretty meaningless vote. Really, because of all the confusion. So if people vote no, I hope none of you will say, well, the people have spoken, that's it, case closed. Case is not closed, because even after the vote, it's still up for grabs. So I hope you don't say you wash your hands of this problem, because it won't be done, no matter how we vote, yes or no.
Thank you, Dick. Anyone else? Any other questions? Yes.
My name is Carla Destein from Wiscasset. I came here to be informed, and it's interesting what's going on. Has anybody done an analysis of why costs have gone up the way they are, what it's attributed to? Because that would be really important going forward to understand. Is it more calls? Is it demographics? Is it just the cost of medical care that you're talking about? I'd like to know that as a citizen.
I only know what the numbers are. I can't really tell you what makes them happen.
I would just point out that in addition to the budget increasing, the revenues have also taken a significant increase. So that would be a good thing to look at for sure, but we just don't look at what the budget is, but because that department, I believe last year, their revenues exceeded what they projected.
Last 2 years, I think.
By a significant amount of money. So.
Yeah, both sides.
And also, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Wendy can help on this. We also have different grades of EMS personnel. Am I correct?
Correct. We have 3 different levels of staff.
Which we didn't have before.
That we didn't. The huge increase came a couple of years ago when we became paid staff. Before that, we had an hourly stipend for listening in. We listened from home, and that all changed. We became 24/7 in-house department. So that's where, when we saw the big increase in the staffing for that. And then each license level, whether you are a basic ENT, an advanced ENT, or a paramedic, each of those come with a different pay grade.
Thank you. Yes, Ben?
I would like to respond to the manager. I did say that the budget went up 86% in 3 years, and it did. Tonight, we are not able to get a good figure on what the revenues are. But even in the best scenario, the revenue increases have not kept up with the ambulance increases. I've had that discussion with Toby Martin too many times to let that go. So, I mean, in that sense, they're not keeping pace with one another, and that concerns me moving forward. It should concern everybody.
Thank you.
What concerns me is just the potential for closing our department, right? Contracting, joining up, merging, if you will, with another service, then say it doesn't work out, 2 or 3 years we decide to withdraw, and then we have to buy our stuff back, which I feel like we've done that with the RSU, cost us millions, and we have to buy all our own buses back. And so this is a scary thing to me. I feel like this is a town that enjoys total local control. We saw it with the schools, and you know, for a savings of even $100,000, I feel like it's not worth it. And I feel like most people would probably vote that way.
Thank you. Yes, Kim. Sorry.
That's okay. In the event it didn't work out, is CLC the only other ambulance service out there? I mean, would it be necessary that we had to have our own again?
How long have you lived here?
I think
this is what we do.
No,
here.
I get
like,
it.
This is like a history.
I know. I'm just pointing out that, you know.
Well, I think what would happen, and our EMS people can tell me if I'm wrong, you call 911, it goes over here to Lincoln County. If we don't have our own ambulance service here in Wiscasset, they're going to get a hold of somebody.
Well, right, I had asked that question before, but I'm just saying, Kim was saying, well, if it didn't work out, then we would have to start a department all over again.
In case we should do that, let's rephrase it.
Okay, I'm just saying that there are probably there's probably more than just these 2 options.
And I was expressing that was my fear.
And you.
Thank you.
So just so that we're really clear about the options that have been discussed, I have had the opportunity to have many conversations with Wendy, who's an incredibly patient person, because we've talked about this for at least 4 years. But we did talk about, one of the options was exploring them creating their own 5013C and becoming their own entity. That was a conversation. We didn't go very far with it. We also had some conversations with the Booth Bay Ambulance Service. And there has been a fair amount of talk about regionalization. So I think these are all conversations that lots of departments are having. I mean, some of our folks that are with us this evening work for more than one service. So they are already regionalized. And so we do have a lot of conversations. This isn't the only conversation that we've had. And I just want to say publicly that I certainly appreciate the patience that the department has had. They've answered any question that I've asked. They've met with me, I'd say at least a dozen times graciously, different members. And I would want folks to have a true appreciation for the service that they provide.
Thank you. Anyone else with a question or comment before we close the public hearing? Yes, Ben.
Only in response to what Kim had said earlier, I want to say, as far as CLC goes, they have been doing business in this community, in this county, for over 20 years with many local communities. And I think that most people you would talk to would speak very well of them. Over the years, many Wiscasset ambulance directors have spoken very well of CLC.
Most recent director just, did the newspaper say, just retired after 19 years. I mean, that's a pretty stable organization, I would say.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
My name is Rob Bickford, and I just want to throw out the disclaimer that I do work for CLC Ambulance, and this has nothing to do with favoring one over the other. My personal opinion comes down to quality of care for your loved ones and my loved ones. Finding an ambulance, I want the best people to come and take care of me. It doesn't matter if it's Wiscasset, CLC, Booth Bay, Northeast, whatever it is. The one thing that drives me is who's gonna be there the fastest and take the best care of me.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no more comments, can I have a motion to, close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you. Oh, now we go to the public comment section. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now it's public comment. At each regular selectman meeting, there'll be time to vote to any resident or taxpayer of the town of Wiscasset to address the selectman regarding any item that is not on the agenda for that meeting. Do I have any public comment? I guess we already talked about everything. Thank you. Department head or committee chair. Police Chief Lawrence Hasseltine, update on body cameras. You're up.
I almost don't get asked for money. When I came here, you guys have in front of you the body camera proposal from Axon.
Yes.
But when I came here, I was told that there was money set aside for the body cameras. I didn't realize everything that went along with maintaining the body cameras and the storage of the footage, the media from the body cameras. So you have in front of you what it would cost for a 5-year contract with Axon. And I talked to several different suppliers of body cameras. And when I first started doing this, of course, I like the in-car videos,
I like the body cameras. I think the more you have for protection for the law enforcement and for the citizens, the better. But it was, it was crazy, the amount of money. It was an extra $6,000 a year just for the vehicle cameras. So after thinking about it for the weekend, I decided that what was best for Wiscasset and what we could do with it. And I think the body cameras are the best outcome. But with that, the $5,000 that was approved for the body cameras is nowhere near enough to purchase the cameras and maintain them. Now, what you have in front of you for the first year of the contract is like $55, $70, something like that, $570 more than what the town approved. Unfortunately, every year after that, for the next 4 years, it's like a $3,200 fee. And that's basically for the storage of the videos. I can tell you from past employment that when you're working the road and you come in with your body camera and you have 4 hours of video to download, I don't know if any of you guys at home tried to download videos. It takes a long time, and you could be sitting at a computer for an hour just waiting for a call to download. Especially if it's a domestic and it's an hour and a half, like an OUI or anything like that. So once you download it, then you gotta load it to a CD to provide it for the DA's office for discovery. With this proposal, all of our media will be stored off-site, which would be with Axon. In the DA's office, there's no more coming in and downloading it, waiting for your videos to download. At the end of your shift, you put your body camera on the dock, it charges it, at the same time it downloads the video to like an evidence locker that nobody has access to except for the admin, which would be me in this case. Now the DA's office, when they want video, they have their own login for this evidence locker. So they could go in, and it basically saves time. I don't have to go in. If I have an officer that has a case, I don't have to come in. Being a working chief in Wiscasset is sometimes struggling. We're trying to get administrative stuff done and answer calls. And then if you add going in and spending an hour trying to upload videos or find videos for the DA's office, it's just taken away from the service that the police department could be providing to the town, I feel. So the proposal you have in front of you is a 5-year commitment. Every 2.5 years, Axon replaces the body cameras free of charge. If anything should happen to the body camera during that 2.5 years, they replace it, no questions asked. So in my opinion, that is the best bang for the buck, so to speak. So I don't know if you guys have any questions on that?
Any questions from the board? Yes, Ben?
Okay, the article in the town warrant that approved this was actually $9,000 for $5,000 for radios and $4,000 for guns.
I think it was $4,000 for guns and $5,000 for cameras, is what I...
Have you bought the guns yet?
We did.
You did, okay.
We haven't put them in use yet. They just, half of them got delivered last week.
So you still have the 5,000?
Yes.
Have we hired the new police officers yet?
I'm glad you asked. We actually, I've done 2 processes. Out of the first process, we did select a school resource officer. He's actually a local resident. He's been with the state prison for 5 years. The struggle I have with hiring people is the pay. He came here because he wants to get into law enforcement. He got into corrections 5 years ago. He's taking a pay cut to come here. He's starting next Monday. He's already done all the pre-employment screening, the polygraph, the psychological. He starts Monday. Sergeant Busher and I just interviewed another candidate today and actually offered him a conditional offer of employment. He hasn't accepted it yet. It's a $5.40 pay cut for him to come here. But this is what he wants to do. And in the interview process with Sergeant Worcester and I trying to select a candidate for Wiscasset, we're trying to select the best candidate for Wiscasset. We're trying to find people that are community-oriented, that want to be involved in the community. I mean, in the last 30 years, I think a lot of police officers missed the boat, and I think I said it during my interview, is a lot of police officers, they don't care about the community that they provide a public service to. They come, it's a paycheck, and they're always looking for the next paycheck, looking for a bigger paycheck, and that's why I think Wiscasset, towns like Wiscasset become a training ground, because people come, they get their training, and then they leave. So in our process, we're trying to find those people that have roots in the area and that want to be in Wiscasset. And the two candidates that we selected, I believe, fit that. I know from talking to Marion, you know, she wanted me to work on, you know, a pay scale and employee retention. And it's hard to retain employees when you don't know if you're gonna have a job the next year. And like the ambulance service, you know, the police department's been on the chopping block more than once. But I think that the candidates we've selected want what's best for the community. Not so much what's best for them. I mean, this guy, if he selects this job, he's taking a $12,000 a year pay cut to come here. But as we all know, you know, it's not all about sometimes how much you make. It's being happy and enjoying your job and going to work every day. And I think with police officers, you have to love what you do to do it. So I think to answer your question, I think by the end of this month, we will be full staff. But then you have training. You know, you can't, the thing with police officers, you can't just hire them and let them go. There's a training process that, you know, I mean, I've had police officers before, you know, during the academy, quit the first week. So.
Well, where I was going with this, and we kind of had this discussion a month or two ago, we're, 4 months into the budget, and we've been short 2 officers for most of that time, or a police chief, or what have you. And that, I think there's some surplus built into your budget. I don't know exactly what the number is.
Well, I know our overtime budget, we're already pushing 80% of it. I know uniforms, I mean, we have $3,000 for the uniforms. Roughly off the top of my head, just a uniform somebody, I mean, the bulletproof vest and the carry is $1,100. And then when you, I did some quick figures the other day, it's upwards of $2,500 just to outfit somebody. And that's not counting the gear, the gun belt and the gear. Then on top of that, as I just recently found out,
But some of that stuff was built into the budget, wasn't it?
$3,000 was built in the budget, but I believe with my uniforms, Sergeant Worcester's uniforms, were probably in Corey's uniforms, the new one I just hired, we're gonna be over that line. But I'm relying on the fact that we're gonna be under in the pay thing. The other thing I'm relying on, and I'll throw it out here now, is we're looking at getting $30,000 back from the town of Brunswick for Officer Fisher. I'm hoping to be able to use some of that money to do what I need to do within the department and I have it broken down. I have so much dollars in the uniform line, so much in I have that all broken out, and I'm hoping at the time I'll present it to you, and you guys will approve it, and we'll move forward.
Well, it seems to me that within that account, we certainly have the 5,700 or whatever it is.
It's $572 that is over and
Yes.
above the 5,000.
That was gonna be my next
That's what I was
Yeah,
trying to say.
Yes, I'm not concerned about the 572, because I know there's other lines that can come out of. My concern is in the next 4 years, there's a $3,200 or $3,500 that we'll have to budget for.
Well, the balance is like 14,000. I would probably vote to take it out of interest and pay it off in 1 year.
Deal with it. Yes, Bob?
No, I don't think that there's a problem with the extra $500, but I just wanted to ask, going into year 2, year 3, that figure probably isn't unreasonable either, but what would happen if for some reason the townspeople didn't fund that? Can you then just in the agreement, or are we contracted to pay the whole price?
Marion and I talked about that, and Marion, in the initial contract, there would be some clause in there that if the town chose not to fund it, that we would get out of that. I don't know if Axon will agree to that. I mean, it sounds like if we go his route, we won't have to worry about that, but
In any contract that we work on, we always put in a non-appropriation clause. And so far, we've not had an entity that did not honor the contract for that.
I mean, I don't think that, you know, if this became a line or was in a line in the police budget, I don't think people are gonna have a problem with it. Any more than they would have for buying uniforms or buying gas for the cruisers or anything like that. I just wondered what would happen, and I guess that answers it.
So,
Yes.
I just wanted to ask the chief if, about this Axon outfit. Have you talked to your colleagues that are all over the state or any feedback on this particular outfit?
actually, the town of Waldeboro, we had what you call VView. Axon bought out VView.
Okay.
Now, the town of Damascotta uses VView, Waldeboro uses VView. There's a lot of agencies that use VView. So now they become Axon. Now, I wasn't aware about this contract. I know the town of Waldeboro is in a contract with Axon because that's where I was. So I asked Axon what was going to happen to those contracts because I know the town of Waldeboro doesn't pay, you know, $3,200 a year, you know, for the storage because they store theirs over there and it's a nightmare. He said they're going to honor those contracts until they expire, and then when those contracts are up, they will be presented with a new contract. Now, I've checked, another popular camera is WatchGuard. That's who the county uses. Theirs came in higher, and they didn't offer, they do offer the evidence locker type storage, but it was a lot more expensive. So what I found, I've done the research, and what I found is Axon, Axon actually owns Taser. So they've been in law enforcement for many years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
How many cameras does this provide?
6.
6. Okay. Wait a minute.
So each officer would have their own?
Each full-time would have their own, the part-times would share 2 of them.
Okay. Will the resource officer have one?
He will.
On him when he's up to the schools?
He will.
Thank you.
Maybe you should have one.
Maybe. Yes, ma'am.
Are there privacy issues with children? There are, but I don't think I'm informed enough to talk about FERPA review now, but I'm sure our superintendent would.
I'm sure the police department is well aware of those.
Yeah.
I know there's some restrictions, like if you're at the hospital and you're in a patient's room, this time when you can't, but that would all be addressed.
With the children at school, with the resource officer.
I know where I came from, the school resource officer had a body camera, and there was never an issue. I mean, I could look into that, but I mean, I know some parents sign the paperwork saying they don't want any media done with their kids or whatever, or pictures taken. I would have to look at that and see if that would be an issue at the school. And I could look at the school contract to see, but every school resource officer I know has a body camera and uses it in the school.
And the school buses have cameras. So,
You have cameras on all of our buses.
And I believe the school has a camera when you walk in, I think there's a bubble.
There are cameras in the school.
Yeah.
It's true. And I know that there are kids though who you're not allowed to take their picture, but you're right, there's security cameras.
It might be something just to pass by the superintendent. Just
She would know for sure.
Yeah.
Just to be on the safe side, I think.
I was reading a model policy for body cameras, and it did talk about when not to report stuff. And I know hospital setting was one of them. It didn't say anything about school, but I can research it.
So generally, is the board, I don't need a motion for this, I just wanted to bring it to the board, so maybe we'll aware of the future commitment. Obviously, the appropriation was approved at town meeting, and I also wanted to express my appreciation to Larry for, he researched this and re-researched it, because every time he came back in my office, I had another question, and he'd go back and research it. So I really appreciate the thoroughness of the memo and the work that you did to present this to the board. So unless there is an objection, I would like to go forward with spending the $5,000 that was appropriated under capital, and then taking the $572 out of the equipment line in the police department budget.
And you did say that whatever contract you came up with would have a proviso if the town didn't want to go forward, it was done.
Has a non-appropriation clause, correct?
And you don't want a motion?
I don't need one. I mean, town meeting approved the expenditure. This was really just an effort to keep the board informed about what's going
Well,
on.
then, to answer your question, I have no objections, and I thank the both of you.
Thank you both. Yes, thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and update you on the staffing process, so.
Thank you very much, Larry.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you, sir.
All right, the next one is department head monthly reports. Any comments? Yes.
I just had a question on this really lengthy airport rules and regulations. Do we have to do something with these? Are we approving them, or they're just for our information?
They are just for your information to show what the airport committee and the airport manager have been working on. You will see them on a future agenda in December for action.
So if I had comments on them, should I just send them to Rick?
Just send them to me and I will get them to Rick. The airport manager is away the month of November, so he plans to come before you the first meeting in December.
All right, I found a typo.
Oh, okay.
And then also it refers to fireworks ordinances, and I just wanted clarification.
Sure.
Okay, Chamber of Commerce.
I just wanted to point out, so I've been spending a lot of time hanging out at the transfer station.
Oh,
And I just wanted to point this out so that everybody's aware of it, because I know that you guys get the agenda, and unless you go online and look at the PDF, you don't actually see these reports. So our town in September moved 162.65 tons of trash, municipal solid waste, at a cost of $70 per ton, according to this report. So that was $11,385. And we also moved 51.7 tons of demo, which demo is probably demo, $70 a ton, $3,619. We moved 21.53 tons of single stream recycling at a cost of $5 a ton. So that was $107.65. Now I know in my house, I have 5 times as much single stream as I do trash. And it seems to me that people in town aren't recycling, and it's costing us quite a lot of money. To the tune of $11,385 a month. I feel like that's an outrageous sum of money when single stream is so cheap. So please recycle. Oh, and I also wanted to commend the rec department again for increasing their revenue over last year. Thank you. That is what we need to do. We need to focus on revenue. And I think that between those 2 stations, we could have an impact on our taxpayers. That's all I have.
Thank you.
We're listening
Yeah,
live.
yeah, take that.
All right, the next item is Chamber of Commerce Waterfront Committee, request to keep waterfront public restrooms open.
So there's been a bit of discussion via email from the chamber and from the waterfront committee about keeping the restrooms open longer. And we had a plan to close them on the 9th of October. And it's difficult, but we need to remind folks that we have a budget, and that the budget is planned on a certain opening and closing date. And also also staffing at the community center. Their team does a great job in keeping their restrooms clean and everything. But when folks go back to college and go back to school, the staff shrinks a little bit. So that was the reason that we selected that time. Lisa talked with her staff. And also we do some maintenance before winter so that in the spring we have a little bit less. But, and Lisa, I'll give you an opportunity to chime in. But, so we stayed with our date that was recommended by Lisa and her team. But in the future, I'm interested in what you think. Do you want the restrooms open beyond Columbus Day? And if you do, there's a fiscal note to that. And so I just want us to be mindful of that. And Lisa, I don't know if you have anything that you want to add to
No, you
that?
said everything I had written down and I was going to say myself. So I will say that that I have had to use some overtime with my maintenance staff, and that could be attributed to the fact that the person getting that overtime, we've had to have him come in on the weekends. So the past 5 weeks, he's had 4 to 5 hours a week of overtime. And that's due to not just the fact that we've had to have him working more, we've had people who have been out on medical leave, we've had people out on vacation. So our staffing has been, in the maintenance area, has been off a little bit. And so when I did, was joining in that discussion with Marion and the chamber, the biggest concern for me was my staff and the cost. So I want to make sure that I stay within my budget, and right now, my staffing budget right now is, not concerning yet, but I want to be very mindful of it. But I don't normally spend overtime money, so when I started doing that, of course, Bernice was reminding me as well, and I just want to be very mindful of that. If the town wishes to keep it open, I could put it in my budget for next year, but for this year, it will cost overtime money. The other thing too is that I know my staff does want to paint out the bathrooms. They'd rather do it now than in the spring. In the spring, we try to, we don't really have a set date for opening in the spring, but there's always a rush to open, because the minute it gets nice out, everybody wants to be down on the waterfront, and so we open as quickly as we can, and there's always not a lot of time to do that pre-season maintenance. So Bob had planned to paint during this time, between now and the end of the month. We'd like to stay on that schedule. So those are the things I wanted to bring up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what's the board's pleasure? Yes, Bob?
I don't think there's any way to logically winterize that building so that they could be open in freezing weather. So I mean, the window to keep it open longer is pretty small anyway.
Right. Yeah. Because we're starting to get cold nights.
Yeah, and I mean, keeping that open is just going to invite having another freeze-up disaster, which can be pretty expensive.
Because part of the maintenance, I would believe, is draining the water, draining the pipes.
Yeah, and I have talked with the water district. I know that they do winterize it. That's not something our department handles. I know that Bob has probably talked to Mr. Cassett about that, but I haven't gotten a date on when they would like to do that yet. So, but I know that's part of the plan.
Do we still have porta potties downtown?
We do. Sprague's is closing on the 24th, so I had made arrangements with Ideal to remove them on the 25th. I actually spoke with them today. So, so the porta potties are still available. So, I wanted to bring this out to you because there had been a lot of conversation about it, and I'm sure that some of you have heard some of it, and just wanted you to know that we did stick with our date, but if you felt strongly another way, we're pleased to have that discussion.
I think Columbus Day's, we've done it Columbus Day for I don't know how long. I have no problem with sticking with that date.
Is there a need, does it impact Art Walk or some festival or?
There's nothing down there now.
Art Walk
last Thursday of September. Is there, so our walk is done by October.
No?
So there's no activities right now down at the waterfront, correct?
No, nothing that I'm aware of that is an organized activity, I would say. So-
Okay.
It's supposed to go down into the 20s in the next couple of nights.
Yeah, I've been looking at the weather, and, now I have no problem staying with the Columbus Day. What's the other board members' thoughts?
No, I agree with that.
Okay.
We did have freezing problems a few years ago.
Yeah,
And that costs a fortune.
yeah,
Well,
Okay.
thank you for your support on that.
thank you. The next item is Town Clerk Linda Perry's registers hours. She has sent a memo out to the register of voters in municipalities with populations of more than 2,500 must be open on the last 5 business days that the clerk's office is open before Election Day, during the same hours that the clerk's office is open and for 2 hours between 5 and 9 p.m. on at least one of these days. The municipal officers may change the schedule set in this section of the law according to the needs of the municipality. I am requesting that the board change the hours for the register to be consistent with the normal hours of operation on those 5 days and not require the additional hours between 5 and 9 p.m.
And you may remember, you get this request every time that there's an election. We have to have your approval to stay over business hours. There would be a demand for the hours between 5 and 9 p.m. So this would require a motion and a vote.
Yes, Ben?
I would move that we change the required hours of operation before Election Day for the register of voters to be consistent with the normal hours of operation and not require the additional hours from 5 to 9 p.m.
We'll second that.
All those in favor? Thank you. Unfinished business. Set the date for special town meeting to fund fiscal year 2018 overdrafts, $97,574.67. Contracted legal services and DOT legislation, $6,437 for benefits, unemployment, billed from unemployment, and $20,480.04 public utilities, increase in water rates mid-fiscal year. So we need a date for a special town meeting.
First of all, I assume this is going to be one article to take all 3 of these, take from surplus to cover these 3. Okay.
I think fund balance. Oh, well.
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry.
All right, no, to follow up on the budget committee, I would make a recommendation that the Board of Selectmen recommend the article.
Yes, ma'am, just a minute.
Yes.
This has nothing to do, I was trying to get in before you went, because we came for the, about the junkyard behind it, our diner, and our letter says to come at 7 o'clock. And by the time we came at 7 o'clock, it was all over with. Our letter says here that the Board of Selectmen will hold a hearing at 7 p.m. in the town of Wiscasset. We came at 7 and it was all over by the time we got here.
Maybe a quarter of.
So we're waiting for that to come up. That's why I came up to get these papers and see that that's long gone.
She's right, I pointed out to the town clerk that my letter had the wrong time on it.
See, our paper
I asked the
says
police
7
chief,
p.m. That's
when
what
he
we
said
were
6, and I said, I got a letter right here, it says 7.
I got the same letter.
Yeah, I see that.
So
Thank you for bringing that to our
when
attention.
we came for this, we wanted to say that we were going to sell the Wiscasset Diner. We had it almost sold in June, and when they went for their loan, the main reason that they turned down the loan was because the junkyard behind the diner, it's right behind the diner, doesn't have a fence up and it's not secure, and they want a fence up to block it out and keep it safe
from other people. And that's all we'd ask, is if a security fence would go up behind the diner to block off that junkyard.
So this would be for Norm's permit?
Sorry, I'm part of the room.
No, that's okay. For Norm's permit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I've got that here, so.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You give her the letter, I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, the inspector, can't think of his name. But if something needs to be done, we can reconsider that public hearing at a later time.
We will do our best to have a conversation with the owner of the junkyard to get voluntary compliance, and if not, we'll bring it back before the board.
What does the ordinance read?
Just says that there has to be a buffer. It doesn't define what it is, but if it's an issue for you, we certainly could have a conversation.
Yeah, I had another one today, same thing.
Okay. Yeah. Let us see what we can do on a voluntary basis, and if not, we'll bring it back before the board.
I've never had a problem with it, but,
Okay.
lately I have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, back to,
Yes, I have a motion before the board. That we, I move that the board recommend the article.
all right, all those in favor? You have to set a date.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but
Who's moving the article?
We're moving the article.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry about the date mix-up.
Thanks for your patience.
Okay.
When can we have
a week from Thursday?
I know.
Wait, what?
Well, no.
I suggested a week from Thursday.
We're going to get in the paper.
Tomorrow's deadline day. I mean, I suppose you can move quick.
Well, I mean, I assume that would be in the papers if we said it.
Well, yeah, it would.
And they have an advertising deadline, that's what she's trying to say, to get it in the paper. Thank you, Bernice.
October.
Oh, I like that much better, Catherine. Thank you.
Next year's is bigger.
So would we do this at the same time as another meeting, or we'll come here and do this as a separate thing?
Can we do it?
On the 6th.
No. I don't want to wait till that. Can we
What do you mean by an advertisement on that?
We have to advertise the town meeting.
Post the warrant and put it in the paper.
Has to be 7 days.
Oh, okay, I know the 7 days thing, I didn't know that we advertised it also in the paper.
You have to.
Today's the 17th. How about the 29th, which is a Monday?
Today's the 16th.
I'm sorry, the 16th, a day ahead of time. That gives them 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, almost 13 days. Yes.
This is to approve the money that we already spent.
Yes.
Can't we just do this at the beginning of one of our regular meetings? Like, can't we set it the time at, 5:30 before a meeting? It's kind of a formality, knowing we already spent the money, right? Or am I wrong?
Probably, but it's a town meeting, I like holding them separate, they're usually separate occasions.
Well, it's up to the board what you want to do. We can either have it the 29th, or you can wait almost a month and have it the 6th of November.
The 20,
Isn't that election?
November 6th is election day.
That's also our next meeting.
I don't think we should do that day.
That's why.
That's just about any other
the
day.
29th is a Monday
29th is a Monday.
at 6 o'clock.
We could do 6 o'clock
Here in the municipal building, I'll make
here in
that
the
a
municipal
motion.
building. Okay,
October 29th.
October 29th.
At 6 p.m.
And what are we gonna do with, so I'm new, and that's the only reason I'm asking, like, what are we gonna do with this meeting?
They're going to vote whether to approve the article or not.
To ratify the expenditure.
The townspeople have to ratify it. That's the law.
So what if we get 6 people are gonna come? What if the 6 people come and vote it down, then what are we gonna do?
We'll go from there. Well, we had a meeting a couple of years ago to raise $240,000, and the Board of Selectmen were the only ones who showed up.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
You were there.
You see why next year's will be bigger.
That looks like mine at home.
Which a warrant will look like a regular warrant article, we just have one article. Well, two, we
It just
will.
seems,
To elect a moderator.
I mean, you know what it seems
But
like.
the law states that we have to
It seems
ratify.
like voting the CLC thing. Remember,
We have to ratify. Okay, so we will set it for October 29th at 6. Okay? We have new business.
We can vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She's moving us along.
She is, and I appreciate that, actually.
It's 7:45.
You know, the Red Sox
We do
are
need
going
to
to go
move
on.
Okay, I make a motion to hold the special town meeting October 29th at 6 o'clock here at the town hall.
Second,
All those in favor?
Because we have to go to the meeting.
Thank you. Okay, new business. Is Mr. John Carroll here? From Central Maine Power, okay.
Do you know what that is about?
It has to do with the signs that are, the corridor, the no corridor. He was coming to update us on that because Alma, I think, voted not to.
Withdraw this.
They withdrew their support. And I had spoke to Marion and said that I thought at one of our meetings, there was something said that Wiscasset was not part of the corridor anymore. I wasn't sure. And we asked him to come and explain what is going on, but he's not here.
And as a board, we basically encouraged it, didn't we?
Right.
We sent a letter of support.
Okay, good, thank you.
I was just gonna mention that, CMP rep was here, Mr. Carroll, I guess,
Yeah.
some time ago.
But I think he came back and said that we were not part of it. I remember. I thought.
Somebody came in here and stood up and said that the proposal had been denied.
Right.
That's right, yeah.
That's
They
right.
lost the
That's
the
right,
bid.
that's what it
They-
was.
Somebody else got it. and they-
So that's why I thought Wiscasset was not involved. And then all of a sudden, I got people calling me at home saying, you know, what's with the no quarter signs? And I'm like, I don't know. I knew we weren't involved.
Is it the same presentation that was on the agenda for the budget committee last Wednesday?
I do not know, because I don't know who reached out to the budget committee. I would assume it's similar, if not the same, but yes.
And we didn't stay for it.
Well, he didn't.
He didn't show.
I don't believe he was there.
He wasn't there.
I don't think John Carroll was there.
He wasn't
Yeah, I
there.
don't think so. I was there.
But I was coming down with a cold, so I wanted
And
to.
it's all my fault.
Well, he's not pointing any fingers, Catherine.
Okay. Well, it would be nice if someone from Central Maine Power would get in contact with us.
Yes.
I'll reach out to him tomorrow and see if there was a miscommunication with the date or if he had a change in schedule,
I
so.
saw Doug Baston at, on the county budget meeting last week. And they were concerned, they had given their support initially. And now that things have changed, that CFP didn't get the bid to do whatever this big project is, which is basically to provide electricity for the state, for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. They've decided to back out and not offer their support, so I think I'd like to know more about it.
I'd like to have an update, really.
I'll reach out to him tomorrow to see. It is possible that he sent me an email that I didn't receive. Bob saw our IT guy there today. And I keep receiving the same 5 emails over and over and over again. I'm up to 16,000 now, so if people are emailing me, I'm not necessarily receiving it.
All right, the next item, sand salt building reimbursement. We're getting money back.
So you see the letter before you, and we also found the warrant article when you approved it. And you notice one of the players is still present at the table this evening. So I just provided that for a little bit of history so that you could see it. But the state has notified us that the salt and sand shed that was built in 1988 and the town paid for, we are now going to receive $49,651.92. And in spite of the fact that there's an incredible number of years between it, what I also found quite amusing was that it says that it will arrive in our mailbox sometime this fall, but no later than Christmas.
They want it.
I thought it was interesting, after all these years, the man wrote that the state still claims that it was not, the DOT claims it was not a mandate, but certain people in the legislature didn't agree. And it was quite a battle, and it says here somewhere, we got our request in November 1st, 1999. I would bet if we'd gotten our request in October 1st, we probably would have gotten our money 10 years ago. But the town was a little late getting its request in, so it had to wait. But it's very good to get the money. I was very happy to see that.
Better late than never.
That's right.
So, the plan, unless you have different ideas, is the treasurer wants this to go to the fund balance. But you do have a warrant article that you approve every year that allows you to put it somewhere else if you want to. I couldn't think of anywhere else you might want to put it, but certainly that is an option for you if you do want to. So, we don't have the check yet, so we can always bring it back before you if you have a different idea.
Well, but basically our options would be the highway department or the fund balance.
Correct.
I think the fund balance.
I mean, that's kind of what we assumed, but.
I agree with Ben, the fund balance.
Great. That makes the treasurer very happy.
But we want to keep bringing that.
More money in the checkbook.
Still haven't taken a tan, brought it on.
Good. Okay, proposed 2019 state valuation.
So this is just information. As you know, the Maine Department of Revenue sends these letters out to let towns know what their proposed 2019 valuation is. And as most of us know, the reason we pay close attention to this is our county tax is based on this. And so you probably saw, I'm sure all of you noticed, the $611,000 check that was in this week's warrant to pay the county tax. So we do pay attention to this. The assessor reviews it. For those of you that used to actively be assessors, you know that you pay attention to this. But it's really information. There's no action that the board needs to take at this time.
Thank you. Monthly financials. HM Payson Statement of Accounts and year-to-date department expense report.
It's getting late, but I have a couple of questions. If I can find one here. 317 WCC roof, $8,200. Is that something that's just being carried forward year after year, or is it an active account?
I believe it's just a carry forward. The roof project is complete.
Would that also be the same for the fire department roof at 3,800?
Yes. I thought those went away, Bernice. I thought we had.
No, not the capital ones.
Okay.
And the Main Street pier, same thing?
That project is still ongoing. We're still doing some work on that one.
Oh, that one's ongoing.
Yeah, but the other two are completed.
And that one. Or the police cruiser, $10,000 balance. How does that?
Carry forward still.
Yeah, that should, that didn't come out. That was a capital one also, so that's a carry forward. But those are both purchases. So what we typically do is on some of these is when we have to draw down, we draw down less these amounts from the revenue. So we'll take a look at those. I know we eliminated some. We must have just missed those.
I didn't eliminate many capitals, we just cleaned special revenues.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to put.
No, thank you for the question.
Anything else, Ben?
No, that was. There's still more agenda to go.
Okay. Okay. Notice of price adjustment, Charter Communication.
So this really is just information to let you know that cable television is going to cost our residents more money. So this was a letter that they sent October 1st. in case you received inquiries from any of the residents in town. Just thought that I would share this with you, make it part of the public record.
Do we ever hold any public hearings regarding this? Or now, do they have it, do they just have the franchise for Wiscasset?
The contract with the cable franchise contract expired in 2014, and you may remember that a couple of times we have attempted to begin negotiations with them, and it seemed like every time we tried, they're being sold to somebody else, so we end up having to wait. And I understand, I haven't done any research on this, but I understand now there's conversation that the franchise fees are going away, and so they're negotiating that change also. But at some point, we need to start negotiating the contract. I don't know if there's any other providers in the area, Ben, that are interested in providing cable television service. Certainly something we could explore.
The franchise fees comes to the town, right?
Yes.
And we can approve it and take it, or we can say we don't want it.
Correct, but I understand there's some conversation about the cable companies no longer charging those. So it came across the manager's listserv, so I haven't researched it, I don't know the details, but.
But I thought it was a voluntary thing on behalf of the town,
Yeah.
that we did or didn't want it.
Correct. And most towns dedicate those funds to either a local cable channel for their residents, or they use it to expand broadband service in the community. So.
Well, maybe we should look into inviting them here. Speaking as a customer, I think there are many times the service they offer leaves something to be desired.
Okay.
There are many, not the lower, I don't know if they're the lower or the upper end stations, but some of them really don't come in well.
I'm happy to send an email to Shelley to see if they would.
I mean, if we're going to pay more, we ought to get able to watch it.
Sure.
You're probably in part of Wiscasset that never got the better wiring, like way out where I am. Back in the XL cable TV days, that was
That's not right.
company. When the town bought the wire and they finally had to wire everybody, but anyway, I don't know what
I
number
think
of
it's a
companies.
discussion worth having. I'd like to know more about the franchise.
Sure.
I mean, it's not, when we first went in, everybody had this system. But that was back in 1981, 82. A lot of people don't have this system.
Yeah.
A lot of people stream their television or use Dish or Direct TV.
Yeah. And now when you build a house, you have to pay for them to pull the wire.
Yeah,
They'll only
it's
go
definitely
so
not
many
going
feet.
from that, no.
And you have
Nobody
to
can make
pay
a
some.
decision.
Well, you live 3 miles in the woods.
I only live an eighth of a mile woods.
Oh, it seems like more.
And I like it back there.
It's very nice.
I do too. See,
The world can just do its thing out there. Okay, required freedom of access training for elected officials. So what do we have to do with this?
So you have in your packet a form to sign, and basically what you can do is you can attend a training, or you can read the attached and sign and provide this to the clerk that you have received the training on freedom of access. It is a legislative requirement, and we were looking through the files and realized that we did not have this for any of you. But I'm sure you went to the class.
Yeah, I have one.
And they talked about it for elected
And I have a
officials.
paper, if you can.
All we have to do is read this.
Yep, just read it and sign it and give it to Linda or drop it to Kathy, whatever.
I do have to ask, because it says training must be completed within 120 days of taking oath.
We're late.
Yes, we are.
I guess so.
I mean, does the statute have any?
There's no penalties, I don't.
I mean, we don't.
So do
give
they
this-
have these 120-day oath police up there that are coming down and arrest us?
Well, I mean, yeah, we can.
Haven't crossed it yet, so.
Mary, wasn't there also a required training about the rules of executive session or something? I didn't bring my little book, my little folder, but I feel like there was this and there was one other one.
And there's some NIMS training also.
Yeah, there are a couple of things that occurred in that training, and then, I left the training, which by the way was like 2 hours away from here, with the impression that these things were required by law. There was one in October in Augusta, but I didn't want to wait that long, because I feel like I need to do what you gotta do.
What, for 20 years, I guess we'd be on.
Okay, I'll read it.
It would be appreciated.
Yeah, some of the executive session stuff I think is really important.
Yes, I heard you in executive session.
Okay, town manager's report. Let's keep going. We're almost done.
I really don't have anything to add to the agenda this evening, except for what I have shared with all of you. Our longtime wastewater treatment supervisor, Buck Ryan, submitted his resignation effective December 31st. He served the town for 23 plus years, and he is retiring. So I wanted to share that with the board. I tried to convince him to consider doing something else, but he didn't seem very receptive to my suggestions.
I move we accept that resignation with regret.
I'll second it. All those in favor? Is that it? Oh, gee, okay.
Oh,
No, you're
oh,
not-
wait a minute,
you're not
I'm on the
done.
board business. So
You're not done.
We're not
okay,
done
okay,
yet.
okay.
Other board business, we have assessor abatements. Let's see, Joseph W. and Katie M. Rezick. Brandon McMorrow, 3 properties. Frank Allen Jr., Element Financial Corporation, and Joan Reed. Can we
Move
take
the
them all?
abatements as
All at
presented.
once? Bob will second. Any questions? All those in favor? 5-0. Oh, we have another one, the Chris McMorrow. There was 2 of them for him.
This is a
That's a
supplemental.
supplemental.
This is asking for money, not for giving money.
I had a question about this one. Well, just how is that initiated? Like, I understand the abatements probably come from people, you know, doing their homestead or filing for VA, but how did this happen?
According to the notes on the bottom of the form, it says that it was assessed to Chris McMorrow. It was assessed, I'm sorry, to Brendan McMorrow, and it's actually owned by Chris McMorrow. So we abated it to Bill to assess it to the correct person, so.
It's a trailer in a trailer park that was assessed to the wrong owner.
And so did that owner say like, no, this isn't mine?
It's 2 brothers.
So we owe him 400 and
So-
something.
No,
So-
we're
No, he
gonna
owes
send him,
us.
we were gonna send him a supplemental tax bill for those taxes.
That's why I was asking how
If you
this
look
happened.
underneath of the abatements, the 3rd one down is an abatement for the 459.43 in Brendan's name. And then the supplemental is to Chris's name for the 459.43.
Oh,
So you
okay.
abated
So
it,
that's
and now
not
you're
what
gonna
happened.
rebuild it.
All right, so we're all set.
You are.
We don't have any more abatements.
No, but you need to have a motion and approval for the supplemental assessment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0. Okay, is there any other board business? You've been waiting all night.
Well, sort of, but I remember. I had a request of the manager to check it out. Like out here, when we go to 27, there is a sign saying keep to the right. Down the island in front of Middle Street, we used to have a white sign. I think it was on the back side, Bob might remember, it was on the back side of the, I believe, the stop sign. And it basically just said, you know, go right
Okay.
around the island. I don't know if it disappeared because of the snowplow incident, or whether maybe it needed to be taken down. But if we can just sort of figure out why it is not there anymore,
And
and
replace it if we can.
if we can, yes,
Sure.
that's all.
Sure.
Any other board business? No? I motion that we adjourn.
Excellent job tonight, Madam Chair. Second the motion.
All those in favor? We're done.
Good job, Judy.
Thank you.
What's that?
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you very much.
I'm leaving now.
Yeah.
It wasn't